Major League Baseball wants a piece of the Olympics in LA. Plus, NASCAR points leader Kyle Larson joins us to preview racing in both the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from our FOS studios in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington, and thank you guys so much for joining us each and every weekday as we're chatting the biggest stories happening in the business and culture of sports. We've got a big show ahead. Our own Colin Salao is joining us shortly. But first, let's dive into the shoot around.
Yeah, indeed. Let's start with some big news in college football. As the 12-team playoff going to move to a straight seeding model this year, with the top 4 teams getting the top-ranked seeds a first-round bye, regardless, of course, if they've won their conferences or not. Now, last season, the 4 highest-ranked conference champs earned the top 4 seeds. So, Renee, the previous model benefited teams like Arizona State and Boise State who got those first-round byes.
Absolutely. This is the second season we're going to see the 12-team format. And, of course, it did cause controversy last year. Every year there's something people are complaining about with the college football playoff format. But I will say, for them to also change the financial components as well, that's a big factor because now with the highest 4-ranked champions previously getting an automatic $8 million payout, that now does shift as well. There's a new model rolling out in 2026, so they're going to move away from that pay-per-round payout into having a different model we're still waiting on those details around. So they're tinkering with not only on the talent side and who's getting in, but also financially how they're getting rewarded.
Yeah, Boise State particularly, who is I think the 3rd or the 4th seed, now would be the 9th seed in this new format here as well. Plus, it also looks like they might be adding more teams for the next couple seasons as well. All right, meanwhile, Major League Baseball doesn't want the NFL players competing in the 2028 Olympics to have all the fun, as Commissioner Rob Manfred has had discussions with Olympic leaders on ways that Major League Baseball players can also be able to compete in the upcoming summer games. One big concern, though, Renee, unlike the NFL, the Olympics actually happen in the middle of the Major League Baseball season, so nobody knows if they're going to get, 2 weeks off as a result of that or what? But the finals would be played at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, this is a classic what about us moment for Major League Baseball. I know players such as Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Bryce Harper had already been coming out prior to the NFL approving players to participate in the Olympics. They previously, as of even last season, were saying they want to be in the Olympics as well because an opportunity to represent their respective countries, compete for gold is not something baseball players have. I mean, 16 Olympics that baseball has been a part of dating back to 1900, and it's typically minor league players that actually get a chance because it's in not only the middle of the season, it's in the peak stretch of the season. We're talking around All-Star break. We're talking around the time that teams are gearing up towards that divisional round push to win their division, I should say. So there's a lot there because it's not preseason like the World Baseball Classic, which the league and the players put together. It'd be in the midst of a very already long 162-game season that they'd have to figure out how to work in to play in the Olympics.
Yeah, and let's be clear, this is not like flag football, which would be a new sport. Baseball has been in the Olympics, and we also don't know if this would be a one-time only thing because the Olympics are in Los Angeles. You don't know down the road if all of a sudden another country has the Olympics. Would Major League Baseball players be able to compete in that? But
they have said there's some rumors, at least Casey Wasserman, who is in charge of LA 28, as well as Rob Manfred and even the Players Union. There's been active conversation. It feels like the Olympics, the players, Major League Baseball wants this to happen. It's just a matter of how this happens.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the Boston Celtics ongoing sale got another billion-dollar investor. This from Aditya Mittal, who has agreed to invest about $1 billion into the group that is purchasing the Celtics for that record $6.1 billion. Now, a member of one of India's wealthiest families, Mittal could become the second largest stakeholder in the team behind Bill Chisholm, a private equity executive who would take over as team governor by the 2027 season.
Can I hold $1?
No.
Listen, Mittal's father is an executive chairman of the largest steel and mining company in the world that generates $6 to $8 billion in revenue. Also a part of the board of Goldman Sachs, which actually is the financial advisor for Full Circle, Chisholm's group.
Ooh,
so there is the connection there. And I just think this is, as we've talked so much about the Celtics, the investment that they have in the future, just another thing to keep an eye on with this big ticket investor and what the Mittals are going to bring.
Yeah, and with the $6 billion sale, there was a lot of questions. Would Bill Chisholm be able to actually get all the funding for it? And here you got $1 billion being plopped in here, right here. All right, let's stay with the NBA. What can we expect for Game 2 of the Knicks and Pacers series, which has been so delicious? And is the Thunder and Wolves series already over? Let's take a look in our main event. All right, and for that, let's bring in FOS reporter Colin Salao with more on this. So let's start with the Knicks and the Pacers. Game 2 obviously has been the topic of conversation all here throughout New York City. So what are we expecting for Game 2? Do we think this is going to be just as exciting as what we saw in Game 1 here, Colin?
Well, I certainly hope so. And if I look and remember last year's series, this Pacers-Knicks rivalry has always been good. Last year there were a couple of injuries on the Knicks side, but I remember watching every single one of those games thinking, this is one of the best series of the playoffs, together with like the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. So I believe these two teams are very evenly matched. They're both, as we saw in game one, they're both young teams that are willing to go hard and play fast. So I think it's going to be another close game. I'm just excited to see whether the Knicks have that little oomph from an emotional standpoint to get them back after what happened.
Yeah, and despite the fact that the Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals for the second consecutive season, as we know, Tyrese Haliburton, Mr. Overrated as his peers across the NBA called him, still has a chip on his shoulder. He actually said after game one how he's been hearing the external noise and kind of has something to prove. Colin, I'm curious your thoughts on why does the NBA, or why do players, I should say, like Tyrese Haliburton still feel like despite all his accomplishments as a two-time All-Star, he still has a lot to prove despite all this success. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's the noise, and I think that's also part of the competitiveness in each of them, right? Like, he still never won a championship. The Pacers haven't made the finals since 2000. Even Tyrese Haliburton, go all the way back to the draft, right? He was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and he was selected, I believe, number 11 or 12 by the Pacers, and he fell down. And I'll even add this: I was at the Royal Rumble at Lucas Oil Stadium with our fellow reporter Ryan Glasspiegel, and we walked out with Tyrese Haliburton, and Ryan told him, he was like, I really wish Wisconsin wanted you or got you. And he was like, well, I wanted to go there, but they didn't want me. So, it's those little things that you go through. No matter how good you are, you have been rejected, and that competitiveness is still there. And I think that's going to last with him for a long time.
One thing I'm so fascinated about with the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder is the roster construction for both of these teams. They're incredibly deep. Both of these teams are not in the top 10 in payroll. They don't have heavy stars like other teams that are now, as a result, in the dreaded apron territory where they're having to pay all these luxury taxes. And I'm bringing this all up because yesterday, Josh Kroenke, the owner of the Nuggets, sort of used Indiana and Oklahoma City as a template for where he thinks roster construction is going. It's these draft and develop for the long extended period of time. What's your take on that, Colin? Do you sort of see that this is how these teams can get away from having to pay luxury taxes?
Yeah, I think it is the easy way or the straightforward way, but I don't know if it's going to work all the time, right? Like, we've seen teams like the Nuggets, for example, try it, and it doesn't always work. Julian Strother, Peyton Watson, they're not always going to hit for you the way that maybe a Christian Brown will. You're only going to get one or two of those every so often. And so sometimes you'd think that that's the best thing. Even a team like the Thunder, who've done it so much and gotten so lucky with their young players, they're still going to miss with a couple of players here and there, like a Poku. So it's a lot of trust in your front office to scout the right way and pick the right players late in the draft.
Last question for you in just about 30 seconds. The Thunder, of course, showed why they're the number 1 seed, up 2-0, heading back to Minnesota. It seems like the Timberwolves can't keep up for a full game. It feels like this team is built to win it all. Is this series against the Timberwolves over, in your opinion? I mean, Ant-Man's trying to get the team to wrangle together, but it just feels different.
This is a playoffs full of comebacks, so I don't want to rule out the Timberwolves, but I will say Zach Lowe from The Ringer, he said the one unit that's most trustworthy in the playoffs is the Thunder defense. And I truly believe that. So it's going to be really tough, but again, it's full of comebacks this playoff, so I can't rule it out 100%.
Really quickly, Colin, does this series, the Thunder and the Wolves, go to 6, go to 7? What do you see it happening?
I think it's going to be 5. I think that Wolves get one game in Minnesota, and then the Thunder close it out at home. I don't see the Timberwolves winning in Oklahoma City.
That Thunder defense is a major
And that
factor.
game was only competitive for like a quarter. All right, Colin Salao, thank you so much. Guys, don't go anywhere. We got Kyle Larson, NASCAR driver, telling us about the double he's doing this weekend right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado, and Renee, our next guest has quite the packed Memorial Day schedule. They're going to be at the Indianapolis 500, and then immediately after that is over, flying to Charlotte to race in NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600. Doing what they call the double, what only 5 other racers have been able to do. So joining us in studio right now, one of those guys attempting the double, Kyle Larson. Kyle, good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 races in basically a span of just 24 hours or so. How do you sort of mentally prepare for something very different from each other?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot, I think. But last year we attempted the double, but the weather kind of got in the middle of it. Right. So it was still good, though, to do the Indy 500 because that's not something that I have ever done before. I'm a NASCAR guy, so going to IndyCar was different, but it was good to live through that experience and kind of better prepare us for this year. So yeah, it should be fun this weekend.
And Kyle, you're giving us a very calm, cool, collected persona. I mean, yeah, I'd be nervous, but what also adds a little extra to it is you have Amazon filming a documentary just completely covering all the behind the scenes and giving us access into what the double is going to be like for you as you attempt it. Mm-hmm. Does that add any extra pressure to you or even maybe just excitement on your end?
Yeah, I wouldn't say at this point any extra pressure because they've been following me for like 2.5 years. So I kind of just get used to it. But no, I think it's going to be really neat for, fans outside and my family and friends to kind of see what all the last 2.5 years has looked like and them follow me around. So I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out. I know they're going to do an amazing job and really just excited for everybody to see what this has been like for me. So it's such a cool event, 2 events, the Indy 500 and Coke 600. So to kind of have them follow me and then have my fans live through it with me is going to be fun.
Now, if you're able to complete it, you'd be only the 2nd driver that's ever been able to do it. Tony Stewart did this all the way back in 2001, so a very long period of time. But there's also been some speculation out there. Maybe this is the last time you attempt to do it. Is there any truth to that, or are you just kind of taking it race by race?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When we first did this, we had like a 2-year plan. So last year and this year. So for at least right now, yeah, I don't know if I'll get to do it again. I would love to, though. It's such a fun experience being there and getting to do something that I don't, that I'm not familiar with. So like trying to learn and challenge myself, but then, live through the atmospheres. What the Indy 500 has been so fun. So maybe again someday, but for right now, I think this is it. But it's also not something that I think about. I just try to stay focused and do a good job on the track and then, have fun out there too.
Yeah, and you definitely have had such an incredible season so far when you look at all the accomplishments. I think back to even the Kansas Speedway when you won back-to-back, you win again, and unfortunately, there wasn't a great attendance there. I know the grandstands have notoriously, you look at the 2000s, 2010s, sold-out crowds, and wasn't that same attendance boost? It was about halfway full at Kansas. I'm curious your thoughts on, is this a NASCAR issue? Is this just that one Mother's Day weekend type of an issue? And what in general can be done to continue to get people to see all the incredible drivers like yourself out on the track?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I think there's probably a lot that impacts it. I would say Mother's Day for sure. But I think when you look at sports across a whole, you see attendance down everywhere. And I think it's just fans are now finding new ways to, gather that, sport that they want to watch, whether it be on TV or on a streaming app or whatever. NASCAR, they've been working really hard on it. And I think it's honestly in a better place than it's been the last few seasons. So I think compared to other sports, we are on the rise, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and there's also some tweaks that NASCAR's doing, an in-season tournament, kind of like what we're seeing with the NBA. Do you like the idea that NASCAR's trying different things? You don't know if it's going to work or not, but at least you're trying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where, NASCAR has done a great job. You can look at like our schedule. It was very stale for a long time. I mean, it was basically the same thing every year. And, the last few years we've gone to, the LA Coliseum. We're now racing in the city in Chicago. They're reviving old tracks that have maybe, gone, out of business and restoring them. And now we have like the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. They went back to Rockingham this year. So
you guys are playing you guys are racing in like NFL stadiums. Like you had one at the Coliseum in LA.
And there's bigger plans, down the road too. So, and then as you mentioned, the bracket challenge thing, I think it's fun. And it's again, trying to find new kind of, spicy things to get fans excited about to hopefully get them to the track.
And so when you build, in terms of your brand specifically, what types of those partnerships and opportunities Amazon, of course, being one of them, do you like to align yourself with to help continue to grow your brand as well as grow the sport?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm different than most drivers. Like I race all the time, and I race in a lot of different series. So I think for my specific brand, I think that's what gets me out there and gets me known. Competing in races like I'm going to do this weekend. Doing the double Indy 500, Coke 600, doing other cool events, on dirt tracks and all those things, and then having Amazon Prime follow us around, racing for obviously a big team with Hendrick Motorsports. So,
well, how do you sort of choose which brands that you want to work with that sort of align with who you are as a driver and things that you're passionate about?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question too. In a way, I think the brands kind of choose you. Okay. I think they do their own research and see if they want to, be with somebody that aligns with them, that can represent their company as well. So for me, I'm lucky. I get to, my main sponsor is HendrickCars.com, and that's Rick Hendrick, who's my car owner too. But their company, they have 10,000 plus employees, dealerships all across the United States that they back us well, and they love what we do on the track and how we support them off the track as well. So it's tough. Sponsorship is tough to come by in all forms of sports, but NASCAR especially is a very expensive sport. But the brands that come in are definitely loyal to the drivers and the teams.
Well, last question for you, about 30 seconds here. You've had moments in your career on and off the track that could have defined or even changed the trajectory of your career. How have you been able to use those, learn from them, and also pivot in how you're building your brand and just building your career?
Yeah, I think, you're looking at how to, grow up and evolve as a human being, more importantly. So, yeah, we've all, as every person has gone through different hardships in their life, I have as well. So, yeah, just trying to learn and grow from those experiences and just become a better person, a better athlete, and better representative of your sport, your family, your team, all of that. So thankful to have good people around me too, which has helped a lot. And yeah, just look forward to the future now and continuing to do good things on and off the track, and trying to win all across the board.
I love that, because you're doing that also in the spotlight, where you're a professional athlete that's also showing us ways to pivot and grow within even your own career. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're rooting for you this weekend.
Yes.
Best of luck doing the big double this weekend over Memorial Day weekend. Kyle Larson joining us here on Front Office Sports today. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thanks a lot.
And we got a lot more show headed your way right after this quick break. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Front Office Sports Today with Renee. I'm Baker, and yes, the Knicks might have lost Game 1 against the Pacers, but there are a lot of data points, Renee, from ratings to ticket prices that are looking good for the city's beloved team. But will those trends increase? Well, only one way to find out. Renee and I are going to play our favorite game, Trendsetters, and for that, let's bring in our hostess with the mostest, our producer, John James, in the control room next door. Hi, John.
Fired up, baby. Great to be here with you guys. Happy Friday. Happy Knicks going down 0-2 day.
He's
Salty
a
Celtics fan.
Yeah,
it's okay. It was a great game 1. That's all I'll say. Let's focus on the Knicks, guys, for this Trendsetters game here. So that game that we last saw was crazy. 6.6 million viewers, the best of the Knicks so far in the postseason. Previously, before that, 5.73 million in Game 6 versus the Celtics, 5.46 million in Game 5 versus the Celtics. So the past 3 games, we've seen a steady increase here, guys. That is the trend. Tonight's game, we don't know yet. Do we think the trend is going to hold and we're going to see an increase in viewership steadily, or do we think this kind of levels out here?
Okay, go ahead, Renee.
Okay, so this is a clash of the 2 comeback teams. Yeah. The Pacers, the Knicks have been the entire playoffs. I think they've been driving ratings because of it, and that is why that Game 1 was the biggest Eastern Conference final opener since 2018 Cavs-Celtics matchup. So I do feel like the trend is going to only spike because after the excitement of the final minute of regulation and then overtime, people want to tune in, like myself. And I think also, you think back to even like the Knicks specifically, it was Game 4 versus the Pistons with the no call. It was the back-to-back 20-point comebacks against the Celtics. We've been getting all the storylines, we've been getting all the drama and all the chaos and great basketball. So yes, it's going up.
Okay,
it's going to be a higher number for this one.
I'm with you. I think it's going up. And that 6.6, by the way, is the average. It peaked at 8.5 million, and that was when Halliburton was making that last-second shot at the end, which then went into overtime. So clearly the interest is there. So I'm going to have a hot take here. Yes, all of that happening, and that's why everybody was watching. So this is why I think the average for Game 2 going to be higher than 6.6. I'm going to say it's going to go to 7 with a peak of 10 million during the final part of the game. But that's but look, if the Knicks don't win this game, game, I don't know if I bet that trend goes down because then all of a sudden interest isn't there anymore.
This is a massive game for a number of reasons. Great point.
Right. Yeah. I think that's well said. I'm aligned there, guys. I think we're going to see it go up and up. I mean, look, if the Knicks go down 2-0, I think maybe then some of the interest falls off. But right now, this is a hot series. I think Game 2 is going to blow Game 1 out of the water, to be honest with you, just because everyone's talking about Tyrese Halliburton, the choke, Reggie Miller, the Pacers rivalry from the 90s. It all is gonna come together for a magical Game 2 number. All right, let's flip it over to ticket prices. Let's go back to the well. We keep talking about the ticket prices on the show, and for good reason, guys. They're hovering around $1,000 for every Knicks game so far in the past 4 games. Game 4 against the Celtics, over $1,100. Game 6 against the Celtics, that closeout game, average price was $935. And then for Pacers games 1 and 2, it's over $1,000 again, $1,041, $1,018 respectively for games 1 and 2, courtesy of our friends over at TickPick, guys. What do we think? Is this trend going to stay flat? It's been kind of flat, or do we expect a big jump happening at some point?
All dependent upon this game. It's so crazy to think that this game is sort of the biggest point in all of this, because if the Knicks win, Game 5 back at Madison Square Garden, getting back to that, is going to be much higher than 10-18. Like, you're probably going to have $1,100 tickets, I bet you, after that. But if they lose this game, that number is going down, down, down. Like, they're going to be selling these on Groupon. So I think I say it goes up because I think the Knicks win Game 2. If Groupon's still a company, by the way.
Oh, Groupon's still catching strays. Oh my gosh, this is monopoly money we're talking about. It's not real. It's crazy to think how much the numbers have gone up. I think that New York Knicks fans understand the assignment. Yes, this is a must-win game, and this is where you're telling a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend, show up, show out, and for all the people that have the deep pockets that can afford the $50,000 courtside seats or even the nosebleeds for thousands, they're going to be loud in attendance. I think ticket prices go up because this is honestly their season on the line. True. 25 years of history to get back to this point. They're trying to get to their first finals to win it, I should say, for the first time since 73. We've hammered that home, and the people know it.
What do you think, James?
Listen, the thing I'll say before I throw it to you guys for the water cooler here, there might not be another Knicks home game after this, so we'll see.
You never know.
If I get my way.
But that's why they need they're going to be there. Could be their final.
See, if they lose, see you all on Groupon. All right, guys, let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Ooh, and the takes for Michael Malone so hot he might need some of this water. You might have seen the former Nuggets coach on ESPN during the network's coverage of the Thunder and Timberwolves. Now, he hasn't been a bad analyst, but some of his takes are raising some eyebrows, mainly his initial claim a few nights ago that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, quote, showed why he's the MVP during the Thunder's dominant Game 1 victory. That'd be fine, except for the fact that he used to coach Nikola Jokic, who up until a few weeks ago was the reigning MVP. What do you think?
Mike Malone, reach out to Doc Rivers. He knows a thing about that when he made his comment about never getting swept in the playoffs. Welcome to the ESPN. This is what happens when you're a coach turned analyst that's been fired. But I agree to this point on SJ. He did show why he was MVP, and I agree that he's fine to have supported Jokic.
All right, guys, that's our show. Have a great long weekend. We'll be back Tuesday. Bye.